The 100 Season 3 Episode 2 Wanheda Part 2. Definitely love this episode. Tons of crazy stuff that happened in it. First off, City of Light, we got to see it. It's basically a metropolis city, which I really love. I think that was an awesome idea. There's no pain, and there's no death. That's the craziest thing, because if people die and their minds are still in the City of Light, it kind of brings up this weird existential question of, is it still the same person? Is it still you when your brain has basically been transferred into ones and zeros? I thought that was a great concept. The first thing I thought of is that it actually reminded me of a game that recently came out last year, and it's called Soma. I'll let you guys look that up. It's a horror game, so if you don't like horror games, then just like, I don't know, look it up on Wikipedia, I guess, and just read the story. But basically, it's the same thing. Like, are you still you if you transfer your thoughts and memories and everything into the body of, like a robot or something else? And I thought the same idea here, and I was like, that's really cool. Crazy question. And it would affect everyone. I don't know what that was, me stuttering, but it would affect people in a very different way depending on who they were. And the other crazy thing that happened, aside from of course the big reveal, is that, and this is what I was waiting for, because with Jaha, he had like a crazy journey. Him being under, the control of like this weird AI, kind of made a little sense to me, because it was possible that he wasn't under her control. He could have just realized this was the true end of his journey. That's what he felt anyway, and it could have just been his natural course. But what I was really waiting for was that guy to come back. He takes this guy back, and it's like, let's go for a walk. And I'm like, I want to see his reaction, because that'll tell me what's going on for real. And he came back super weird. Took his mask off because he didn't care how he looked in the face or if anyone saw him anymore. And he attacked his friend, and I really wish I could remember her name, because she was important even in the last season, but I can't remember her name. So he attacks her because he wants to make sure that the backpack is safe, which I couldn't believe the entire City of Light was basically like a laptop, pretty much is all it was. That's not even waterproof, and the backpack was like, they were freaking out with it dropping, like, oh, we can't lose it. So that said a lot. He was totally different, and he was seemingly kind of under, a slight change. It wasn't like full on mind control, but he was different. And it's like, all right, that says it all right there. She's evil. She's corrupting people. Murphy mentions that he ate the chip. I didn't realize that's what that was. I just assumed it wasn't like, eat this, and it's in your body. I thought it was just like, no, you just put it on you and it attaches to you or something. But it's in their system. It's like a crazy techno-virus, pretty much. So I don't know where they're going with that, but it's not good. It's bad. It's really bad. And so now they're split up, and Murphy's off with the girl on the boat. Jaha is with the new guy, and he finds out the reveal that there's no death. That just blew my mind. I was like, I don't know where they're going, but we'll see. They have to eventually run into everyone else too, because that's Jaha's whole mission now. Is like, I will, fill this place with all of my people, I promise. So he's eventually going to get back to Arcadia and, find everyone, and I guess they'll be at Mount Weather by the time he, finds his way back. But that was a crazy reveal. Tons of other crazy shocks. We find out that this bounty hunter is actually the prince of the Ice Nation. We find out that Lexa is the one that hired him to get Clarke, and he wasn't ever taking her to the Ice Nation in general. We find out a little bit about his backstory, that he's banished. Like, he's not only the prince, but we find out he's banished first. So that says a lot. The prince was banished, so it had to have been bad. And then, of course, with the dynamic from the previous season and how things ended between Lexa and Clarke, Clarke spit straight in her face. So that I understood. But then we find out they're in like this skyscraper now, which was insane to me. Like, I knew she was in something, and I honestly thought she was in the White House because of just the way it looked. Because I know they're in Washington, because they're well, I don't know. I never know how far they're really traveling, but I doubt they're traveling super duper far. But it's like, we have, certain monuments, where they are, and you have the Lincoln Memorial, and I was like, all right, so at first I was like, there's no way she's like in the White House. Like, that would be insane, right? And I guess it was a little bit insane, but I really thought that. I thought that that's where she was at first. My very first thought is that she was just in some sort of mansion because I could tell that everything she was looking at, I'm like, those are buildings, that's not just ground, it's like a city. So she's in something higher up. I didn't think she was like super high up. I just thought she was a little high up. Like the White House isn't high, which so it wouldn't have made sense that she'd even see anything below her, really. But it was crazy that she was in the skyscraper, which looked really cool. I believe the skyscraper is in the opening of the show, and there are maybe like 2 or 3 more other places that show up that are new for the opening. One of which looks like an oil rig to me, but it had like the blue background because that's the kind of the color scheme they're doing. So it could have been on water, or it could have just been on ground. And I don't think it was even an oil rig. It just kind of looked like one. To me, that's like the best equivalent I could think of. But there's some places that we're going to be going. We got to see an interesting house or something, whatever they were, like Clarke and the prince, were in. It's weird. We have an actual prince on the show. But wherever they were, it was some sort of thing. Because I remember when Bellamy went down to find her, behind him was a thing that was like talking about like Star Spangled Banner and stuff like that. So I don't know if that was supposed to be like some sort of American history type of museum or something. But it had something about the American flag on the back, and I thought that was interesting. It was like no real reference as to what it was, but that was pretty much it. I was like, oh, that's weird. I wonder where they are. But it was definitely cool. And Bellamy failing to get Clarke, I thought was an interesting moment because that led to the whole Mount Weather thing and them, him talking about like, we can't lose Clarke. It was kind of like, okay, well, the way he said it seemed kind of relationship like a little bit, but also Clarke's kind of the leader. Especially in the last season, it was kind of like Bellamy shared that responsibility in season 1, and then he kind of let her fully take over, and he just kind of, in certain cases did what he felt he needed to do. But it's like, we can't lose Clarke. Like, they have Abby, but even in this episode, Abby, once again, gets shot down twice this time. Last time it was Raven, this time it was Jasper, or was Jasper, I'm getting them mixed up. Jasper, yeah, it was Jasper. And Jasper is like, oh yeah, Finn, your daughter killed him too, so burn on that one. And then her partner was like, when they were talking about Mount Weather and taking Nico there, who's back in this episode, which I thought was cool because I like him. She's like, I can't just be a doctor, like, I'm the leader here. And he's like, well, maybe you should be. And he wasn't as harsh, of course. It was like, maybe you should just be a doctor and really think about the fact that we are doctors. We save lives. That's what we do. That's rule number 1, save lives. So they go to Mount Weather, which is really cool. Finally, they're talking about going there, because I thought about it a tiny bit before, but it wasn't brought up too much outside of the piano and art stuff. And I was like, why don't they go to Mount Weather? But I didn't really think of it after I watched the episode, because it was like one scene. It was mostly in that I was focusing on Jasper and how angry he was compared to like, oh, Mount Weather, what's going on with that and things. It's like, yeah, we just kind of abandoned it, truces and whatnot, and it's bad for grounders because of the mountain men, and we want to keep up appearances, which they kind of go that route through the cave. But Nico mentions like, hey, places aren't bad, people are. This place is awesome. Like, it's the only reason I'm alive, and it could save so many more people way easier than the stuff they have at Arcadia, and it makes perfect sense. I couldn't believe they hadn't done it in like 4 months, but it was a good reason. I personally thought it was like a good reason for them to try to keep appearances. Like, we have this truce, we won't go to the mountain, and we won't use Mount Weather. But at the same time, it's also dumb. It makes sense, but also still dumb. I mean, for the people, for the grounders that can't deal with it, they just need to not deal with it. And ultimately, it's not like they're really friendly anyway. They have a truce. No one's, they shouldn't care that much about appearances. It's not like they're friends. They only had a truce. We won't kill each other. And that was it. So they're still at odds a bit. And Indra's like the only person that's kind of really playing the field of both sides and being okay with it. And obviously Lincoln, but I don't know. Just everything going on there. But it was cool. I'm glad to see that they're going to be utilizing Mount Weather because it makes the most sense. They don't know yet, but that was a very great choice because they're going to war. So that's the perfect time for them to just happen to need to go to Mount Weather and have that conversation. Like, all right, let's all move here because they'll need that in the next episode with the Ice Nation coming down and them just being the villains and stuff. And Someone mentioned in my previous review that the Ice Nation was mentioned in the past season. I just completely forgot that. And they were the ones that killed Lex's previous girlfriend. So, they're just bad. They're just kind of the wild cards. They kill anybody and everybody. They're the reason that the people that we find, like Monty's mother in this episode, which was a great moment, and we get to find out that there are other characters, which they introduced that idea, and of course they followed up on it in this one, and they have that idea, but it's like they landed in the Ice Nation, and because they were so far from Mount Weather, that's why those people from the Ark still have the us versus them mentality, where there is no truce. It's people from the Ark and the Grounders, and that's all there is to it. And I like that idea, the mentality of season 1 really kind of coming back into play. And it comes from seemingly a fairly strong character. He won't have that much sway, really, once he gets there. It's not like he's going to be like, we need to do this, and he'll, suddenly, after, 2 full seasons of stuff, it's not like this guy's going to come in and just destroy everything. But it'll be interesting seeing that idea come back into play for this series, and how that does affect, because that still's like, I think you mentioned, like, there are like 63 people left, so that's a lot of people still in the us versus them mentality. So that makes a lot of sense to me, and I'm looking forward to seeing that kind of come back into play and what he decides to do, and how he may or may not become a bit of an antagonist. And also it showed, because that guy was a teacher also, and I just assumed when he first showed up he was just some commander guy from straight off the top. It's like, no, he used to be a teacher, and it's like that really shows the difference from first contact on ground to now, like all this time later. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's just a great episode. We had 2 really great emotional moments, of course, both Monty and Jasper. Jasper finds the painting, Maya's favorite painting, and he just cries in front of it, and that was a good moment. And Octavia was a good friend in that moment, where she's like, it gets better. And I love the fact that she didn't have an answer for him when he said when. And it was just like, she said nothing and he just cried, and that was it. And I was like, sometimes you don't always have an answer, and I love the fact that she didn't. And then, of course, Monty finding out the truth about his father dying as a hero, also a good moment. And something else they did, like small thing, but also fairly unique for the show, is that his mom couldn't finish telling him the story. In most cases, even when it's sad for people in the shows, they normally, find their way to finish the story out, because, like, another character is asking what happened. But in this case, she was just so overwhelmed that she had to pass the story off to the other guy. And I was like, I like that. It was a very, small little touch, but I thought it was really cool. And one of the many, many great things about this episode, crazy action from the Prince, is just, like, the ground Terminator thing. He's a grounder Terminator, and that's just all there is to it. His fight scenes, I hope, are going to be just as epic as they were in this. And just, the bow thing, when he had the bow, and, like, he threw it in a cool way, and it was just like, they did that on purpose, and it was awesome. And it was just funny, but it was just super cool. And so I can't wait to see him kind of just fight some more. But this was a great, great second episode. Definitely had the good emotional moments. A lot of cool reveals, like Monty's mother, and then, just that section of more people coming back. A prince in the series. We're going to war already, which is just nuts. That, based on what they just ended with, for the last season, we're going to war with the Ice Nation. And Ice Nation does not care about anyone, but apparently. Seemingly the Ice Nation just wants to expand. That seems like the Ice Nation. Like, they're the tribe that just wants to take over everything else. And I like that idea, because so far everything else has just been like, this clan and this clan or tribe, they might not get along, but everyone has their set boundaries. But Ice Nation is just like, nope, we're Ice Nation, we're strong, kill everyone else and take over everything else. So I like that idea. They're just full-on enemies, no good qualities. Mount Weather, the innocent people were the good quality there, but even they knew, what was going on, and it's just hard. Like, this show, it's hard. It's very ambiguous stuff that happens, but this was a really good episode. Love the action, love the emotional moments. Cannot wait to see them at least setting up for war. I don't think they were super far. They were pretty far out. They were heading, they were basically just crossed the border of the Ice Nation into like Lex's territory. So they could get to possibly Arcadia in the next episode, but if everyone's moving, they might not even be there anymore. But I'm sure they won't just abandon it because they have like the farms and stuff like that. So I'm sure there will still be people there. So, and that's another thing I'm kind of curious about how they're going to do that with how many people are going to Mount Weather, how many people stay at Arcadia and stuff like that. But really looking forward to this next episode. Of course, definitely want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I think my biggest thing is, what do you guys think about this Ice Nation Prince? Like, what's his path in this season? He's clearly going to be a recurring character. Who knows if he'll survive? I thought he was just done for. I was like, oh, he's just a bounty hunter. Clarke got away from him, but she'll still kind of be on her own and other crazy stuff happening. I don't know. It's the 100. Anything could happen. But he ends up surviving. He's a prince. He's very important. He's going to have a part in this season and possibly next couple of seasons if he makes it through this one. So I want to know what you guys think about him as a character now that we know his backstory and where he's going in this series. I don't know if he'll become a good guy. It's hard to tell, but based on him as a fighter, I feel like he'll survive long enough to have one of those moments where he can switch teams and be like, you know what? I was banished for something I shouldn't have been banished for, maybe. And I'll just stick with these people, even though they threw me in prison, you're thrown in prison in this episode. Live long enough, things just really change. So we have to wait and see, but I definitely want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.